You're not lazy, you're not lost, you're simply stuck, exhausted from thinking too much and getting nowhere. But what if the real problem isn't your willpower, it's your mindset? In this video, we're diving into a philosophy that's not just about surviving life, but truly mastering it. No empty motivation, just powerful Stoic principles that can change the way you think and live. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start moving forward, keep watching. This could be the turning point you've been waiting for. Principle 1. See beyond the present. We live in a world that rewards instant gratification, where we've been conditioned to think that the key to happiness lies in living for today, seizing the moment and fulfilling every desire in the now. It sounds good, doesn't it? But there's a catch. We've all been sold this idea that the best way to live is by focusing solely on the present, living for today, doing what feels good right now. And while there's some truth to this philosophy, it's also a trap. It's a dangerous myth that keeps us shackled to the moment, creating anxiety, impatience, and ultimately regret. The Stoics understood this better than anyone else. They didn't say to ignore the present. They said, live fully in the present, but don't be a slave to it. They saw far beyond the moment. They believed that the key to a meaningful life was planting the seeds today for the future you want tomorrow. The present is important, but the future you're shaping is what truly matters. Consider the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. He wrote, "Dig within. Within is the wellspring of good, and it is always ready to bubble up if you just dig." What he's telling us is that real growth doesn't happen from quick fixes or instant pleasure. It happens from long-term work and deep inner reflection. And guess what? That's what most people avoid. Because here's the truth. Success, growth, and the pursuit of a meaningful life do not come from urgency. They come from deep, patient, steady effort. That's how you plant roots that will carry you forward. Take Netflix, for example. Back in 1997, Netflix wasn't the streaming giant we know today. It was a small DVD rental service, and the future looked bleak. For years, they lost money. They even tried to sell themselves to Blockbuster for $50 million, but Blockbuster turned them down. Imagine how easy it would have been for Netflix to quit, to blame the market, to throw in the towel and declare defeat. But they didn't. Instead, they had a long-term vision. They saw beyond the present. They pivoted to streaming when the world wasn't ready for it yet, and poured money into original content before it was the thing to do. They didn't chase the immediate rewards. They invested in their future. And that's exactly what Stoic philosophy teaches us, to think long-term. Success doesn't come from immediate gratification. It comes from thinking ahead, making decisions today that build tomorrow. Netflix didn't just wake up one day as the streaming king. They were patient, they took their time, they didn't rush. Now I want you to think about your own life for a second. What's your plan for the future? I'm not talking about some distant dream. I'm talking about today, right now. Are the actions you're taking today leading you to the future you want? Or are you just surviving, hoping that somehow things will magically fall into place? The Stoics believed that if you truly wanted a meaningful life, you needed to reverse engineer your future. What do I mean by that? Start with the life you want to have in 5 years. Picture it clearly in your mind. Now break it down. What needs to happen in 4 years? In 3? In this year, this month, this week, and today? When you can map out exactly what needs to be done and do it consistently, you stop getting distracted by the chaos and noise of the present. You gain focus, you gain clarity. And above all, you gain control over your future. This approach to thinking doesn't just help you reach your goals, it frees you. When you stop chasing short-term fixes and start planting seeds for the long haul, you'll begin to feel something powerful. Peace. No longer will you be frantically trying to achieve success overnight, chasing someone else's timeline or comparing yourself to others. You'll be grounded, knowing that each small step you take today is part of a bigger plan. Patience, when it's done right, isn't passive. It's powerful. It's not about waiting around for things to happen. It's about having the conviction to stick with your vision, even when the results aren't immediately visible. Most people quit because they don't see instant success. But real growth doesn't work like that. It's slow, steady, and often invisible, but it's happening. Let me give you an example. Think of a tree. It doesn't shoot up into the sky in one day, right? It starts with a small seed buried deep in the earth. It takes time to grow roots, to build a foundation. The same applies to your life. You're planting seeds today, and it might take months, even years, before you see the fruit of your labor. But that doesn't mean the work isn't happening. That doesn't mean it's all in vain. Every effort you put in today builds the foundation for tomorrow. So let me ask you, are you planting your roots today, or are you waiting for the fruit without doing the hard work? Take a moment and reflect on the small actions you could take today that would bring you closer to your long-term vision. What could you do differently? How could you adjust your mindset to think beyond the present and start working on your future? Because here's the harsh truth. Success doesn't just happen. It requires you to think long-term. It requires you to make decisions today that set you up for success tomorrow. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but it's hard. Life is full of distractions, stress, and demands on my time. How do I keep going when the future feels so far away? I get it. It's tough, but here's what the Stoics would tell you. Life is always going to be chaotic. There will always be distractions. But what you control is how you respond. Do you let the present control you, or do you take control of the present to build a better future? This principle of seeing beyond the present, of thinking long-term, is not just about success. It's about freedom. When you free yourself from the need for instant gratification, when you free yourself from the pressure of living up to others' timelines, you create space for real growth. The next time you feel the urge to give up, or when impatience starts to creep in, remember this. The most powerful changes in life come from consistent, small steps over time. Each action you take today, no matter how small, is part of a bigger picture. It's a building block. It's your foundation. And the best part, when you embrace this mindset, you're no longer running after success. Success is running after you. Every day you're getting 1% closer to the future you want. And with that clarity, the road ahead doesn't seem so overwhelming. You start to see it for what it truly is, a series of steps, a journey that's within your control, a journey that you have the power to shape. This is what the Stoics understood, and it's the mindset that can change your life. And remember, thinking long-term doesn't make you anxious. It sets you free. So, now that we've discussed the importance of thinking beyond the present, let's talk about the next principle, the importance of taking ownership of your actions and your mind. This is where true control starts. Stay tuned, because what comes next will help you break free from your limiting beliefs and start mastering your mind. Principle 2. Build more, complain less. Let me ask you a question. How often do you catch yourself complaining about your circumstances? About your job, your boss, your relationships, the traffic, the economy, the weather, the list goes on. It's easy to fall into this trap, right? And we've all been there. In fact, we live in a world that encourages complaining, a world where every minor inconvenience seems to be blown out of proportion. The truth is, we've been taught that complaining is a form of release. But what if I told you that complaining is actually the enemy of progress? That's right. Complaining doesn't solve problems, it amplifies them. It drains your energy and robs you of the very power you have to create change. It shifts your focus from what you can do to what's wrong in the world. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of negativity, and it does nothing to help you move forward. This is where Stoicism comes in, teaching us one of the most powerful and liberating principles: build more, complain less. Let's be honest, it feels good to vent, right? To get everything off your chest and express your frustrations, to share your complaints with others, hoping that maybe, just maybe, they'll agree with you and validate your feelings. But here's the truth. Complaining does not change your circumstances. It does not help you grow, and it certainly doesn't make you stronger. Instead, it feeds your feelings of powerlessness, making you feel as though the world is against you, while you remain stuck in the same place. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, understood this better than anyone else. He said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Think about that for a second. You have power over your mind, not the world around you. Complaining is essentially giving up your power. It's saying, I can't do anything about this, so I'll just complain about it. But here's where the shift happens. The Stoics didn't just sit around waiting for things to get better. They didn't waste their time complaining. Instead, they focused on what they could control, their own actions and responses. They built solutions, they took action, and they created value. They didn't let external circumstances dictate their inner peace or their ability to move forward. You can do the same. Think about it. Every time you complain about something, you're not solving the problem. You're simply amplifying the negativity in your mind. You're reinforcing your feelings of frustration and helplessness. But when you choose to focus on building, whether it's building yourself, building relationships, or building solutions, you empower yourself. You take control of your life. Let me give you a couple of real-world examples. Drew Houston, the founder of Dropbox, had a moment that could have been the perfect excuse to complain. One day on a bus ride, he forgot his USB stick and couldn't access his work. Most people would have cursed the situation, blamed the bus ride, blamed the system, or blamed their own forgetfulness. But Drew didn't complain. Instead, he asked, "What if I never had to carry a USB again?" That question sparked the idea that led to Dropbox, a cloud storage platform that changed the world. Instead of complaining about the inconvenience, Drew saw it as an opportunity to build something better. And guess what? He didn't stop there, he built it. He took action, and today, Dropbox is a multi-billion-dollar company. Or take Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia, the founders of Airbnb. In 2007, they were struggling to pay rent in San Francisco. Hotels in the city were overpriced, especially during conferences. Most people would have complained about how unfair the system was, how expensive everything was, and how hard it was to make ends meet. But Brian and Joe didn't complain. They asked, what if we could create a solution? They saw an opportunity to connect people who had extra space with guests who needed a place to stay. And from that simple idea, they built Airbnb, which today is worth billions and has revolutionized the travel industry. The lesson here is clear. Complaining doesn't create solutions. It creates stagnation. It prevents you from moving forward and keeps you trapped in a cycle of frustration. But when you stop complaining and start building, when you start finding solutions, when you start creating value, that's when everything changes. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but I don't have the resources to build something like Dropbox or Airbnb. You don't have to build a billion-dollar company to apply this principle. Start small. Start with your own life. Start by changing how you respond to daily challenges. Instead of complaining about your job, ask yourself, how can I make this job better? Instead of complaining about the traffic, ask, how can I use this time more productively? Instead of complaining about not having enough time, ask, how can I manage my time more effectively? It's all about shifting your mindset from being a passive observer to an active creator. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment to act. You don't need everything to be perfect. You just need to start where you are with what you have and then keep building from there. And here's the beauty of it. The more you focus on building, the less time and energy you have to waste on complaining. Complaining takes mental energy. It drains you. It keeps you in a state of frustration and powerlessness. But building is energizing. It's empowering. It gives you a sense of control over your life. It's the antidote to the helplessness that comes with complaining. This isn't just some motivational speech. This is about taking control of your life and your future. This is about shifting your focus from the things you can't control to the things you can control. Your actions, your mindset, your ability to create value. Here's a challenge for you. For the next week, pay attention to how often you complain. Notice the small things, complaining about the weather, about work, about people, about circumstances. And then, instead of complaining, ask yourself, what can I do to build something positive out of this situation? Whether it's taking action, learning something new, or simply shifting your perspective, commit to building more and complaining less. When you stop complaining, you free yourself from the weight of negativity. You give yourself the space to think clearly and take purposeful action. You stop waiting for things to change on their own, and you start creating the change you want to see. And when you build more, you don't just improve your own life, you start creating value for others too. The next time you face an obstacle, don't turn to complaints. Turn to solutions. Don't waste energy on what's wrong. Focus on what you can build. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. So now that we've tackled the importance of building more and complaining less, let's talk about how to truly fuel that journey forward. How do we turn failure into fuel? How do we learn to rise from our mistakes and keep building when everything feels like it's falling apart? Stay tuned, because that's coming up next. Principle 3. Turn failures into fuel. Let's face it, failure stings. It's something none of us can avoid. It's that harsh moment when the reality of our efforts collides with the crushing weight of unmet expectations. But here's the thing, failure isn't the end. In fact, it's just the beginning. The most successful people in the world didn't achieve greatness by avoiding failure. They achieved it by learning to turn failure into fuel. You see, the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is how they handle failure. Do they let it defeat them, or do they use it as a stepping stone towards success? Do they let it knock them down, or do they rise stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever? The Stoics understood this principle deeply. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers and a Roman emperor, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Think about that for a moment. The very obstacles that block your path, they're not roadblocks. They're the blueprint for your growth. The barriers you face aren't there to stop you. They're there to show you a new way forward. Failure, when viewed through the Stoic lens, isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. It's not something that should paralyze you or cause you to give up. It's an opportunity. An opportunity to learn, adapt, and grow stronger. Take the story of Rovio Entertainment, the Finnish game company. In the early 2000s, they released 51 games that were failures. Complete failures. Employees left, finances tanked, and bankruptcy loomed. But they didn't give up. They kept learning from each failed attempt. Then came the 52nd try, the launch of Angry Birds, and that game exploded. It became one of the most successful mobile games of all time, with over 4 billion downloads. Can you imagine what would have happened if Rovio had stopped at game number 50? We would never have heard of Angry Birds, and they would have faded into obscurity. But instead, they turned their failures into fuel. They didn't let failure define them. They learned from it. They adapted, they improved, and they came back stronger. This is the mindset you need to adopt. Every time you fail, you have two choices. You can let that failure define you, or you can learn from it and use it to fuel your growth. The truth is, failure isn't a full stop, it's a restart. It's an opportunity to recalibrate, to rethink your approach, and to come back stronger. Look at the story of Nike's founder, Phil Knight. When he started his company, Blue Ribbon Sports, he was just a guy with a dream. He sold shoes from the trunk of his car, but he faced rejection after rejection. He ran out of money, lost suppliers, got sued, and nearly went bankrupt. Yet, he didn't give up. Each failure taught him something. He learned how to adapt, how to negotiate, how to survive. And what did he build from that failure? Nike, a global sports brand worth billions of dollars. His success didn't come despite his failures. It came because of them. His failures taught him the lessons he needed to rise higher. Every setback was a lesson learned. Every obstacle was an opportunity to grow. This is the key. Failure doesn't stop you. Your response to failure is what determines whether you stay stuck or rise above it. Too many people see failure as a dead end. They give up. They stop trying. But those who succeed understand that failure is a lesson, a stepping stone to something greater. Let me ask you something. When you fail, what's your response? Do you shrink back, feeling defeated, or do you stand up and say, "What can I learn from this?" Because the truth is, every failure holds a lesson. It's a mirror, reflecting the areas where you can improve, the things you didn't do quite right, and the steps you need to take to move forward. And the best part, failure makes you smarter. It forces you to rewire your thinking, to develop resilience, and to come up with better strategies. Neuroscientists have a term for this: neuroplasticity. It's the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections when you make mistakes. So every time you fail and learn from it, you're actually rewiring your brain to become better, stronger, and more capable. So, how do you turn failure into fuel? Start by shifting your mindset. Stop seeing failure as something to avoid and start seeing it as an opportunity to learn. It's not a bad thing, it's a necessary part of the process. Every time you fail, you gain experience, and that experience makes you more capable of handling the next challenge that comes your way. Next, embrace the feedback that comes with failure. Whether it's a failed business venture, a relationship that didn't work out, or a project that fell short, failure is feedback. It's telling you what didn't work, what needs to be adjusted, and where you can improve. Don't ignore it. Don't get defensive. Take that feedback and use it to become better. Third, keep going. This is the most important part. Failure is a part of the process, but it doesn't define you. You are not your failures. Your failures are simply steps along the way. Every successful person has failed at something. What separates them from those who never succeed is that they keep going. They don't quit. They keep learning, adapting, and growing. You have to do the same. Every time you fail, get up and try again. And this time, try smarter, try harder, and try better. Here's the bottom line. Failure is not your enemy. In fact, it's your greatest ally. The path to success is never a straight line. It's full of twists, turns, and detours. But every failure you experience is a lesson that brings you one step closer to your goal. So embrace it, learn from it, and use it to fuel your journey. You have the power to turn every setback into a comeback. Every failure is an opportunity for growth. The question is, will you choose to learn from it? Will you choose to keep moving forward, no matter how hard it gets? I'll leave you with this. What's your next step after failure? Will you stay down, or will you rise and learn? Because every failure you overcome is one more victory on the road to success. And if you're wondering how to keep this momentum going, stay tuned for the next lesson, where we'll dive into the power of lifelong learning. Because, let's face it, there's always something new to learn on this journey of growth. Keep pushing forward and remember, Your failures are just fuel. It's time to light your fire. Principle 4. Learn without limits. In a world where technology evolves at lightning speed, the need for continuous learning has never been more critical. But here's the truth that many people miss. Learning isn't just about taking classes or reading books. Learning is a mindset. It's a way of living. The key to thriving in today's world isn't just about mastering a single skill or field. It's about learning without limits, constantly expanding your horizons, unlearning old patterns, and embracing new ideas. And when you understand this principle, your life starts to transform in ways you never imagined. Learning without limits doesn't mean cramming as much information as possible into your mind. It means developing a mindset that allows you to never stop growing. Imagine this for a second. You wake up every day with the mindset that there is always something new to learn, whether that's from your work, your relationships, your experiences, or from those around you. We often associate education with institutions, schools, universities, courses. And while those are important, true learning doesn't stop when the bell rings. It doesn't stop after graduation. It doesn't stop when you hit a certain age or level of success. Life itself is the ultimate teacher, and the most successful people are the ones who understand that learning never ends. Think about it. Who are the people you admire most in your field? The ones who have risen to the top and stayed there. They are the ones who never stopped learning. They understood the power of growth, the importance of curiosity, and the necessity of evolving. Let's take a look at one of the greatest minds in history, Leonardo da Vinci. He wasn't just a brilliant painter. He was an inventor, a scientist, a philosopher, and an anatomist. Da Vinci's notebooks are filled with more than 13,000 pages of observations and drawings on subjects ranging from anatomy to astronomy, from flight to music. Why? Because for him, learning wasn't a task, it was a way of life. He didn't limit himself to what was expected. He embraced every opportunity to learn, whether it was related to his art or something completely new. This is the essence of learning without limits, to push past the boundaries of what you already know and to constantly challenge yourself to explore new ideas, new skills, and new perspectives. And the best part, you don't have to be a genius like Da Vinci to make this mindset work for you. All you need is the willingness to learn, the curiosity to ask questions, and the determination to keep improving. But here's the thing, learning without limits requires a different kind of mindset than what most people are taught. From a young age, we're often taught to specialize, to focus on one thing, to become an expert in a single field. While specialization has its value, the reality is that the world we live in today rewards versatility and adaptability. Take the story of Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Kobe wasn't just a basketball player, he was a student of the game, constantly learning, constantly improving, but he didn't stop there. After retiring from basketball, he didn't rest on his laurels. He turned his focus to learning new skills in different fields, film production, storytelling, and even winning an Academy Award for his short film, Dear Basketball. He wasn't content with being a basketball legend. He wanted to learn new things, to grow as a person, and to leave a legacy far beyond sports. This is what learning without limits looks like. It's about exploring new avenues, challenging yourself to step outside of your comfort zone, and being open to the unknown. It's about realizing that no matter where you are in life, you can always keep evolving. And that mindset is critical if you want to create a life that's not just about surviving, but thriving. The Stoics understood this concept profoundly. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." In essence, what you learn shapes your mind and ultimately shapes your life. So the more you learn, the more you expand your potential. You stop being limited by what you think you know, and instead, you begin to unlock the vast potential of what you could learn. One of the most powerful ways to keep learning is to challenge yourself to step outside of your usual routine. Ask yourself, when was the last time you learned something new that had nothing to do with your job, your usual routine, or your everyday responsibilities? Maybe you took up an instrument, learned a new language, or even started reading a book outside your typical genre. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is the willingness to grow beyond the familiar, to constantly feed your mind new information, and to stay curious. The process of learning without limits doesn't just make you smarter, it expands your perspective. When you learn new things, you start to see connections that you never saw before. You begin to understand how different pieces of knowledge fit together. For instance, learning about philosophy can deepen your understanding of human psychology. Understanding psychology can make you a better leader or communicator. Learning about art or history can inspire creativity in your work. The more you learn, the more you start to connect the dots, and before you know it, your ability to solve problems and innovate skyrockets. But it's not just about the knowledge itself, it's also about the confidence that comes with learning. When you learn something new, you not only expand your skill set, but you also expand your sense of self. You realize that you are capable of more than you thought. You start believing in your own potential, and that belief in yourself is what fuels your journey to success. Think about this. How many people around you are living their lives with a limited mindset? They believe that they've learned all they need to know, or they think that learning is something for younger generations, or that they're too busy to keep expanding their knowledge. These people are stagnant. They're stuck in their own limited understanding. But by continuing to learn without limits, you're making yourself different from them. You're constantly growing. You're constantly pushing the envelope of what's possible for you. And this doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. Start small. Start with just 10 minutes a day. Spend that time reading something that challenges your thinking, learning a new skill, or watching a video on a topic that excites you. Commit to expanding your knowledge every single day. Little by little, these moments of growth compound. You don't have to learn everything at once, but consistently learning, even in small doses, will make a massive difference over time. As you start this process, you'll notice something. You'll feel more alive. When you learn something new, you become engaged with the world in a different way. You stop going through the motions. You start to seek out new experiences, new knowledge, and new challenges. Life becomes less about surviving and more about thriving. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, believed in the importance of lifelong learning. He didn't see education as something that ends after a few years of study, but rather as a continuous process. It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them, he said. Learning for the Stoics was not about collecting information. It was about changing the way you see the world and shaping how you respond to it. And the best part, this is something that anyone can do. You don't need to be a scholar or a genius to live a life of constant learning. You just need the desire to grow, the curiosity to ask questions, and the courage to step into the unknown. Now, think back to the last time you learned something new. It could have been small, like figuring out a new app, or it could have been something bigger, like taking up a hobby or learning a language. How did it feel? Did it make you feel more capable? Did it shift your perspective on life? That feeling you get from learning, that sense of growth, is the key to living a fulfilled life. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into the importance of embracing a growth mindset and how you can apply it to every area of your life. But for now, take a moment and reflect. What's one new thing you can learn today? Because once you start thinking without limits, you'll begin to see that your potential has no bounds. The only limits you face are the ones you place on yourself. So, start learning, start growing. Start living without limits. Principle 5, think like an owner. How you think directly impacts how you act, and how you act ultimately determines the life you build. Today, I want to introduce you to one of the most powerful concepts you can adopt: thinking like an owner. This principle doesn't just apply to businesses, it applies to your entire life. It's the mindset that shapes your actions, guides your decisions, and positions you to own not just a business, but your destiny. Too often we fall into the trap of thinking like employees, not owners. What's the difference, you might ask? Well, think of an employee as someone who comes to work, follows orders, gets paid, and clocks out. They do what they're told, and their main concern is doing what's required to get by. They're playing the role of a worker. Now think of an owner. An owner doesn't just show up. They take full responsibility for the success and failure of the business. They're the ones thinking about how to improve the process, how to solve problems, and how to grow. They're not just going through the motions, they're committed to the end result. They ask themselves, what can I do to make this better? What's my next move? And that's the mentality we need to adopt. Thinking like an owner isn't about waiting for permission. It's about assuming responsibility for your own growth, your success, and your future. It's about moving through the world as if it's yours to shape. It's not about just fulfilling a role. It's about seeing opportunities where others see obstacles and acting on them with the conviction that your success is yours to create. When you shift your mindset to think like an owner, you stop playing small. You stop waiting for things to come to you, for circumstances to change, or for the world to make things easier. Instead, you become proactive. You create opportunities. You find ways to solve problems, to innovate, to improve, and most importantly, to make things happen. This shift is crucial. Why? Because in life, there are two types of people: those who wait for the world to make room for them, and those who make room for themselves. Those who wait are always stuck in the same place, hoping things will improve. They are passive, they are reactive, they are stuck in the cycle of playing it safe. But those who think like owners, they own the process, they take initiative. They act, not just because they have to, but because they are building something greater. And the moment you start thinking like an owner is the moment you take full control of your own destiny. I know it might seem overwhelming at first. You might be thinking, I don't have a business. I don't own anything. But that's exactly where you're wrong. You are the CEO of your own life. Your actions, your mindset, your choices, those are the things that shape your future. Whether it's your career, your health, your relationships, or your personal growth, you are the owner of every aspect of your life, and you hold the key to making it better. Take a moment and ask yourself, how do I show up each day? Do you approach each day with the mindset of someone who's just clocking in, or do you act like the owner of your life, your destiny, and your future? Thinking like an owner doesn't just apply to your job, it applies to your mindset and your approach to life. It's about how you handle your finances, your relationships, your health, and your goals. It's about taking responsibility for your actions and not blaming circumstances for where you are. It's about asking yourself, what can I do today to move closer to where I want to be? For example, think about the way you approach your job. Do you act like an employee or like an owner? Employees do the minimum. They meet deadlines, follow directions, and do just enough to get by. They don't think about how to improve things, they just do their job. But an owner? An owner looks at every situation, every challenge, and asks, how can I make this better? How can I solve this problem? What's my next move? Think about the entrepreneurs you admire, the ones who took a vision and turned it into a successful business. They didn't sit back and wait for someone else to tell them what to do. They took ownership. They moved when others hesitated. They acted when others complained. They created solutions, not excuses. Take Jan Koum, the founder of WhatsApp. He wasn't born into wealth, nor did he have the resources many entrepreneurs have today. He grew up on food stamps. He was mopping floors at a supermarket before he created the app that changed the way we communicate. His story is a testament to the power of thinking like an owner. Despite all the challenges, he refused to let circumstances dictate his future. He took ownership of his situation, taught himself to code, and ultimately built one of the most successful companies in history. What did Jan Koum do differently from others? He acted as though the world was his to create, and that mindset propelled him to success. He didn't wait for someone to hand him an opportunity. He created his own. Now, ask yourself, how many times have you waited for permission to act? How many opportunities have you missed because you weren't thinking like an owner? The truth is, the world doesn't owe you anything, but it does give you opportunities. What you do with those opportunities is what determines your future. So, how can you start thinking like an owner today? Here's how. 1. Take responsibility for your actions. Stop blaming others. Stop complaining about circumstances. Instead, take full ownership of your life and your decisions. Whether it's your career, your relationships, or your health, everything is a result of the decisions you've made. Own them. Learn from them. Move forward with intention. 2. Act like the authority in your life. Don't wait for someone to tell you what to do. Take initiative. Whether it's at work or in your personal life, don't just show up. Show up ready to contribute, to innovate, and to create value. When you act like an owner, people will start treating you like one. 3. Think long term. Owners don't just think about the next paycheck, they think about the long term. They focus on building something sustainable. Start applying this in your own life. Don't just think about today, think about where you want to be in 5 years, in 10 years. Make decisions that align with your long-term vision. 4. Add value, not complaints. When something goes wrong, don't just point out the problem, focus on finding a solution. An owner doesn't get bogged down by complaints, they create value by solving problems. 5. Take calculated risks. Owners don't shy away from challenges, they embrace them because they know that's where growth happens. Be willing to take risks and push beyond your comfort zone. It's in the risk that you find your true potential. Now let's take this even further. Think like an owner of your own future. If you want to take full control of your life, the first step is to stop being passive. The second step is to start actively taking ownership. If you're serious about building the life you want, you have to start acting like the person who already has that life. This is where you'll start to notice a powerful shift. When you think like an owner, you begin to take ownership of your future. And once you take ownership, there's nothing stopping you. So let me ask you, how much are you willing to take control of your life? How much are you willing to shape your destiny? Stop waiting. Start acting. You are the owner of your life, and it's time to start living like it. In the next part, we'll explore the importance of choosing the right people to walk with you on this journey. Because just as you are the owner of your own life, the people you surround yourself with will play a huge role in your success. Stay tuned. Principle 6. Choose your circle. How many of you have ever felt like you were stuck in a situation that just wasn't moving forward? Maybe you're surrounded by people who drain your energy, hold you back, or tell you that your dreams are too big. You might feel like your potential is being held hostage by the very people who are supposed to be helping you grow. Now, think about this for a second. Who you choose to surround yourself with plays a monumental role in your success and happiness. It's easy to overlook. But your circle, the people you spend your time with, your friends, your colleagues, your family, shapes the way you think, how you feel, and what you believe is possible for your life. Stoicism, the ancient philosophy of resilience and wisdom, teaches us a crucial lesson about this. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you want to elevate your life, your thinking, and your growth, it's time to be intentional about who you allow into your circle. This principle might sting a little because it challenges us to make tough choices. But trust me, it's not just about cutting off toxic people. It's about choosing the right influences that will propel you to the next level. Your circle can either drag you down or lift you up, and it's your responsibility to make sure you surround yourself with the right energy. Let's break this down. We've all been there. The negativity of friends, the complacency of co-workers, or the toxic habits of family members who bring nothing but drama and stress. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, well, I can't just leave them. Or maybe you've rationalized your circle because you've known these people for years. But here's the hard truth. Staying around negative influences won't only hold you back, it'll keep you from becoming who you are meant to be. What do I mean by that? Think about the conversations you're having on a daily basis. Are they focused on growth, on improvement, on the future? Or are they about complaining, about being stuck, about how things aren't fair? Think about the energy in the room when you're around certain people. Do you feel inspired, ready to take on the world? Or do you feel drained, discouraged, and wondering if your dreams are even worth chasing? You have to ask yourself, are you the person who elevates the people around you, or are you the one being held down? This principle is about more than just distancing yourself from negative energy. It's about actively choosing a circle of people who challenge you, inspire you, and push you toward your best self. These people won't just nod along to everything you say. They will question you. They will hold you accountable. They will make you uncomfortable in the best way possible. They'll challenge your assumptions, push you past your comfort zone, and help you see your potential in ways you never thought possible. If you think about the most successful people, the world's top performers, entrepreneurs, and even great thinkers, they didn't do it alone. They had a strong circle of mentors, partners, and friends who believed in them, challenged them, and kept them focused. Your circle can be your greatest asset or your biggest liability. The power of influence. Here's the truth. You are constantly being influenced. Whether it's the media you consume, the social media accounts you follow, or the conversations you engage in, everything and everyone around you is shaping how you see the world and how you approach life. The Stoics understood this, and that's why they placed so much value on their circle. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers and an emperor, surrounded himself with wise people. He didn't just surround himself with yes men, he surrounded himself with people who would hold him to the highest standards, challenge his thinking, and remind him of his purpose. Why? Because he knew that the people you spend time with shape your character. Take a moment to think about the people closest to you. What are their habits? How do they talk about their goals? Do they encourage you to take risks, to step up, to reach higher? Or do they constantly bring you back to the safe zone of complacency, or worse, convince you that your dreams aren't possible? In a world where negativity spreads like wildfire, it's essential to find people who push you to see beyond your own limitations. A great circle doesn't just support you when things are going well, they challenge you when you're not living up to your potential. Energy is contagious. Science tells us that emotions are contagious. A person's energy can seep into your soul, whether it's positive or negative. If you're constantly around people who are stuck in a negative cycle, complaining, procrastinating, and making excuses, you'll find it harder and harder to break free of that cycle yourself. You become who you hang out with. Take a moment and reflect on the people you interact with the most. After spending time with them, do you feel energized, motivated, and ready to take on the world? Or do you feel drained, doubting yourself, and like your dreams are far out of reach? You don't need to be a psychologist to understand this. Emotional contagion is real, and it affects everything: your productivity, your mindset, and your overall life satisfaction. Surround yourself with negative people, and you're likely to feel negative. Surround yourself with ambitious, goal-oriented individuals, and you'll begin to pick up their habits, their drive, and their mindset. Think about your closest friends or colleagues. If you want to level up, start evaluating who you're spending time with. Your circle is a reflection of your potential. The uncomfortable truth. It might sound harsh, but sometimes you need to cut off the dead weight. Sometimes those relationships are more than just draining. They're holding you back. They're slowing you down. This is an uncomfortable truth, but if you want to make significant progress in life, you need to be able to make the hard decision to distance yourself from people who don't have your best interest at heart. Toxic people aren't just people you don't get along with. They're people who drain your energy, make you doubt yourself, and prevent you from becoming who you're capable of becoming. You don't have to be rude about it, but you do need to set boundaries. Boundaries are a form of self-respect. The right people will understand. And if they don't, well, maybe it's time to reconsider how much space they deserve in your life. Choosing your circle. So, how do you choose your circle? Start by asking these questions. 1. Who challenges me? Who in your life asks you the hard questions? Who pushes you to get better, do better, and be better? These are the people who will elevate you. 2. Who inspires me? Inspiration isn't just about feeling good. It's about being challenged to grow. The people who inspire you aren't always the ones who tell you everything's okay. They're the ones who make you believe you can do more. 3. Who supports my growth? Are the people around you supporting your goals and dreams? Are they actively helping you move toward your goals, or are they holding you back with negativity and doubt? 4. Who brings positivity and energy? Pay attention to the energy of the people you're around. Do they fill the room with optimism and hope, or do they leave you feeling drained and down? 5. Who lifts me up during tough times? A true circle of support isn't just there for you when things are easy, it's there when things get hard too. The right people will lift you up and help you get through tough situations. Moving forward. If you haven't already done so, it's time to audit your circle. Take a look at your closest relationships. Do they support your growth? Do they challenge you? Do they encourage you to be the best version of yourself? Or do they keep you stuck in the same old patterns, reinforcing your doubts and fears? Here's your challenge. Start shifting your circle. Surround yourself with people who inspire, challenge, and lift you. Let go of the relationships that are holding you back and embrace those who are helping you grow. And if you're not sure where to find these people, it's time to get intentional. Seek out communities, join groups, attend events, and put yourself in situations where you'll meet people who are aligned with your values and goals. The right people will help you rise higher, and you'll rise together. Now, as you move forward, remember, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Choose wisely, because they will shape your future. And in the next part, we'll explore why your mindset is your greatest asset. Stay tuned. Principle 7. Live what you've learned. Let's take a moment to reflect on the journey so far. We've learned how to think long-term, how to turn failure into fuel, how to stop complaining and start creating, how to embrace learning without limits, and how to own our mindset and our actions. But here's the thing, none of this matters if we don't live it. We can read all the books, watch all the motivational videos, and listen to all the podcasts in the world, but if we don't apply what we've learned, it's all just theory. Knowledge without action is wasted potential. So here's a question. Are you living what you've learned? This principle is about more than just intellectual knowledge. It's about embodying the wisdom and insights we've gained and making them a part of our daily actions. It's easy to talk about self-discipline, about taking ownership, about thinking long-term. But when the rubber meets the road, when life gets tough, when emotions rise and when we're faced with challenges, that's when we get to put our learning to the test. Living what you've learned means no longer being a spectator of your own life. It means stepping up, making the choice to put your knowledge into action, and consistently applying those principles every single day. It's not about being perfect, it's about being intentional. Let's break this down and really understand how to apply this principle in a way that will transform your life. 1. Knowledge versus action. Imagine for a moment that you're in a room full of highly educated people who know everything there is to know about success, personal development, and achievement. They're full of knowledge. They can quote all the right books, recite the best advice, and give you a lecture on how to live your best life. But now imagine that none of them are actually living the life they talk about. How impactful is their knowledge if it doesn't translate into action? It's like knowing all the theory behind running a marathon but never lacing up your shoes to take the first step. Knowledge is important, yes, but it's the action that leads to real results. In this moment, ask yourself, am I living the life I know I should be living? Because here's the truth. Knowledge only becomes powerful when it moves from your head to your heart, from your heart to your hands, and from your hands to the world. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, didn't just talk about virtue, they practiced it. They didn't just talk about resilience, they embodied it. They didn't just talk about managing emotions, they made it part of their daily life. And that's what we need to do too. You can know all about patience, but how often do you practice it in moments of frustration? You can understand the importance of long-term thinking, but how often do you invest in the future, even when you don't see immediate results? The key is to live it, not just understand it. 2. Bridging the gap between theory and practice. When we talk about living what we've learned, it's about closing the gap between what we know and what we do. There's a huge difference between knowing the principles of Stoicism and actually applying them in your daily life. What does it look like to live what you've learned? It means waking up each day and consciously choosing to apply the principles you've been learning about. It's about being intentional with your time, with your words, with your actions. If you know that complaining gets you nowhere, stop complaining and take proactive steps to fix what's within your control. If you know that long-term thinking is the key to success, stop living for instant gratification and begin making decisions that will pay off in the future. If you know that failure is a lesson and a stepping stone, stop fearing failure and start embracing it as a tool for growth. Every day is an opportunity to put what you've learned into practice. Don't wait for the perfect moment to start living what you've learned. It doesn't come after you've mastered the theory or have everything figured out. It comes right now, in this moment, with the decisions you're making today. 3. The power of consistency. The most powerful part of living what you've learned is consistency. Knowledge is useful, but it's the habit of applying that knowledge that makes the difference. How many of us have learned something new, felt motivated for a moment, and then gone back to our old ways after a week or two? Consistency is where the magic happens. It's about making the principles you've learned a part of your daily life, whether you feel like it or not. Living what you've learned isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about showing up every day, putting in the work, and applying the lessons you've learned, even when life is hard. That's where growth happens. If you truly want to change your life, it's not about what you know. It's about what you do. and doing it consistently day after day will transform you in ways you can't imagine. 4. The importance of self-reflection. One of the most important aspects of living what you've learned is self-reflection. It's not enough to just apply knowledge blindly. You need to pause, look at your actions, and ask yourself, am I living according to my values? Am I staying true to what I know is right? Am I doing what I said I would do, or am I making excuses? Self-reflection keeps you aligned with your goals and values. It helps you assess whether your actions are truly moving you forward, or if you've fallen back into old habits. Here's a challenge for you. Set aside time each day to reflect on how you're living what you've learned. Look at your day, your actions, your decisions, and ask yourself, did I act in accordance with what I know to be true? Did I apply the principles I've been learning? Did I make progress today? This doesn't mean being hard on yourself. It means becoming more aware of the small moments where you can improve and grow. When you take the time to reflect, you give yourself the chance to course correct and make sure you're always moving toward the person you want to become. 5. Action over motivation. So many of us wait for motivation to strike before we take action. But motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes. What lasts is discipline and consistency. Motivation might get you started, but it's your commitment to living what you've learned that will see you through to the finish line. The truth is, if you wait for motivation to show up before you take action, you'll spend your life waiting. Instead, make the decision to act regardless of how you feel. It's in the moments when you don't feel like doing it that your character is built. Living what you've learned means making it a habit, not a one-time event. You don't get fit by working out once, you get fit by working out every day. You don't grow by reading one book, you grow by constantly applying what you read. 6. Don't wait for perfection. The reality is that you'll never be perfect, and you don't need to be. Living what you've learned means accepting that you will make mistakes along the way. The key is not to get discouraged when things don't go according to plan. Failure is part of the journey, not the end of it. The Stoics understood that perfection was an illusion. What matters is not perfection, but progress. Every mistake is a lesson. Every setback is an opportunity to adjust your course and continue moving forward. So, don't wait for everything to be just right. Don't wait for the perfect moment to start living what you've learned. Start now. Apply it today. Embrace the discomfort, the mistakes, and the setbacks, because that's how growth happens. 7. The power of consistent action. So, what does living what you've learned really look like in practical terms? It means committing to a set of actions every single day, no matter how small they seem. It means waking up and choosing to live with intention. It means applying the knowledge and lessons you've gathered not just in theory, but in real, tangible ways. It's about making your actions reflect your values and beliefs. In conclusion, living what you've learned is about closing the gap between what you know and what you do. It's about putting knowledge into practice consistently, taking responsibility for your growth, and making your learning a part of your daily life. It's about showing up every day, living with intention, and not waiting for motivation to show up before you take action. Now, as you move forward, remember, knowledge is only valuable if it's lived. What will you do today to start living what you've learned? Take that first step and watch how everything changes. As we close out this journey, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've discussed so far. The principles we've covered aren't just abstract ideas. They're tools, practical steps that can lead you to real, tangible change in your life. The journey towards mastering your mind, taking control, and building the life you want doesn't stop here. This is only the beginning. You've learned how to think long-term, shifting from the rush of the present moment to a place where you're not driven by short-term gratification. You've learned how to embrace discomfort, how to build, not complain, how to turn your failures into fuel for growth. You've learned how to keep learning, to keep evolving, and to never stop asking the important questions. And you've learned how to think like an owner, not just in your work, but in your entire life. The reality is, ownership isn't just about your job or business. It's about how you show up in every part of your life. But none of this matters if you don't take action. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of new ideas, to be swept away by motivation. But motivation fades, and it's consistency, discipline, and the decision to live out these principles every single day that will get you the results you want. The next step: living the philosophy. What will you do with what you've learned today? The next step is simple. Start living these principles. Start making them a part of your life. Knowledge, after all, is only powerful when applied. You can know all the theories, read all the books, and listen to all the motivational speakers, but if you don't live what you've learned, none of it will matter. Take one small principle, just one, and begin to integrate it into your life today. If it's long-term thinking, start with one habit today that will serve your future. If it's turning failures into fuel, think of your most recent setback and how you can extract a lesson from it. Don't wait for perfection. Start messy, start imperfectly, but start today. The road to change isn't easy. In fact, it's often harder than we anticipate. You'll face resistance, you'll encounter obstacles, and there will be days when you want to give up. But this is when the magic happens, when you push through, when you apply what you know in the face of difficulty. Because that's where growth lies. In the moments when you don't feel like doing it, but you do it anyway. Consistency is key. Remember, change doesn't happen in a day. It happens bit by bit, one small action at a time. So, don't be discouraged if you don't see instant results. Keep pushing, keep acting, keep applying what you've learned, and eventually you'll look back and see the massive transformation you've undergone. That's the power of consistency. When you embody these principles in your daily life, you'll begin to notice a shift. You'll start to attract the right people, the right opportunities, and most importantly, you'll start to see a new version of yourself, one who's confident, resilient, and focused on what truly matters. This shift will be felt by everyone around you. Your mindset will change, your actions will follow, and your life will transform in ways you couldn't have imagined. But let's be real. This won't be easy. If it were, everyone would be living their best life right now. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't just about what they know, it's about what they do. And if you're willing to take action, to put in the effort day in and day out, then you will see results. The power of your commitment. Here's the question: are you committed to this journey? Because at the end of the day, that's all it takes. Commitment. Commitment to your growth, to your values, and to living by the principles that will set you free. Now, it's your turn. Take what you've learned today and apply it to your life. Choose one principle and make it a habit. Write down your goals, reverse engineer your dreams, and start putting in the work even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels hard. Start living like the person you want to become. Don't wait for permission to act. The time to start is now. Because honestly, you're never going to feel ready. You just have to jump in and start. The power of action. And remember, action is the key. You can't wait for inspiration to strike. Action breeds inspiration. So whether it's getting out of bed earlier, setting up that first step toward your long-term goals, or making that difficult decision you've been avoiding, take action. Even if it's small, even if it's messy. Even if you don't have all the answers, the journey to success isn't about big leaps all the time. It's about small, intentional steps forward. Those steps, over time, will build momentum, and that momentum will carry you farther than you ever thought possible. And soon enough, you'll look back and realize that all those little decisions you made to take action were the moments that shaped your success. A final thought. To close, I want to leave you with this. No one can live your life for you. No one can walk your path or apply these principles for you. You are in control. So let today be the day that you take full ownership of your life, your choices, and your future. Apply these principles, live them every day, and watch as your life shifts in ways you never thought possible. If this video has inspired you, then don't let that inspiration go to waste. Like, share, and subscribe to keep learning, keep growing, and keep moving forward. I want to hear from you in the comments. What principle hit home for you the most? Let's start the conversation and support each other on this journey, because at the end of the day, your life will only change when you decide to take action. So take that first step now. I believe in you. Let's do this together.